Hey guys, I just want to talk about the differences between the crop sensor versus full frame digital SLR cameras. DSLR meaning digital single lens reflex. So the two formats would be APS-C and the full frame. APS, I think they got the name from the old school film advanced photo system, and I don't know what the C stands for, maybe crop. And for Nikon it's a 1.5 crop factor. I think for Canon is 1.6. I believe they also have an APS-H, which is kind of like the 1DS Mark IV. I believe is a 1.4 or 1.3 crop. And then we have the full frame sensor here. This is the D700, that's the D7000 that I have. The D700 has what they call an FX, or full frame. So here I have the D7000 with the 50mm 1.4, and then I have the D700 with the 16 to 35 f4 VR. Lens is kind of sticking out here. Can't fit it in a full frame. But just the advantage and disadvantage that I found is that the image quality is pretty similar. You're not going to be able to tell the difference between an image from a crop sensor as opposed to a full frame right off the bat. I mean, sure, if you compare them side by side, you may be able to, notice very slight dynamic range or low noise, especially when you blow it up. But low noise is going to be the biggest advantage. The advantage of the crop sensor, the APS-C, is that you're going to get in Nikon's case, the 1.5 magnification factor. So if you have a 50mm lens, this becomes a 75. So you're actually getting a little extra zoom. And what's happening there is it's not really magnifying anything per se. It's just, if the sensor is like so, it's the area that the lens is using is a little smaller, so cropped within the actual sensor. So you're just cropping in. Like if you're to open up an image, in Photoshop or what have you, and let's say your image is like, I don't know, 2 by 3. When you crop it in, it might be like 1 by 2, let's say. So you're just cropping in a little more. Maybe the ratio wasn't as exact, but you get the idea. The other advantage of the crop sensor is you're using the sweet spot of the lens. So you're using more the center portion of the lens rather than all the way out to the edge. Oftentimes lenses are gonna have less quality toward the edges. Even the prime fixed focus lenses on the edges aren't going to be as sharp as their center portion. So that's the two main advantages: there's built-in zoom and crop factor, and you're using the sweet spot of the lens. Also, the APS-C cameras are going to be smaller. As you can see, the body on D7000 is a little smaller than the full-frame D700 there. The lenses also are going to be a little cheaper for the APS-C. The main advantage of the full sensor is obviously your wide-angle lenses are going to be true wide-angle. So if you have let's say 24 to 70, your 24mm will be true 24. There's no crop factor involved. Whereas a 24 on a crop sensor, it'll be 24 times whatever your crop factor may be, 1.3, 1.5, 1.6. So that's something to consider. The other advantage of the full frame DSLR is the fact that you're going to get generally better low noise performance. Dynamic range tends to be a little better on the full sensor cameras. Disadvantage of the full frame is that you're not getting the magnification factor. So if I have, for instance, I have a 16 to 35, so at 35mm this is going to be 35. I'm not going to get the crop factor. Like if I were to use this 50mm on the full frame, I'm not going to get the 75mm, which isn't a big deal, but I guess if you want that extra reach, you're not going to get that with the full sensor. The other thing is the full sensor bodies are generally bigger than the crop sensors, and the lenses tend to be a little more expensive. In In Nikon's case, with a full frame sensor, I can use either full frame lenses or crop lenses. Generally, the full frame sensor cameras have more pro features, such as better weather sealing, higher buffer rates, higher frame rate, more rugged controls, faster autofocusing, and more autofocus points. Little things that make a big difference, but for amateur photographers such as myself, I mean, I can be better served by either camera. I mean, I do like my D700 for the low light and the under frame rate, but I tend to be using my D7000 more because it's lighter. Seems like a more fun camera, and this also has the video, full HD video, which does not. So, to crop or not to crop? That is the question. Or I should say, to go crop sensor or full sensor. You know what? In the long run, unless you're a professional making a living with your camera and you need some of the high-end features in the full frame, go with the full frame. But some of the better crop sensor cameras will probably serve you just as well. A photo editor is not going to tell at first glance that, oh gee, this picture was taken with the crop sensor, this was taken with the full sensor. I doubt it. They're not going to tell right away, especially with today's high quality crop sensor cameras coming out. Of course, the pixel peepers and comparing same image side by side, yeah, you'll be able to notice the difference. Frame rates obviously be higher, so if you're into sports photography, that may help as well. But you'll be served either way. Best served either way with either choice. Now, if you're starting out and you're considering it, I would do is get a high quality crop sensor and put your money in a lens. No single photographic accessory or component will make a big difference in your images than lens choice or lens selection. Camera body, you won't be able to tell. If I took the same picture and flopped these lenses around, you may not tell which I took it with. But the lens choice definitely is the way to go. A good choice here, like I said, the D7000 with the 51.4. Excellent combination with a bright f1.4 aperture, constant 50mm prime lens, tack sharp. It's probably one of the sharpest lenses you're gonna get, both Canon and Nikon, by the way, in the 50mm. I think they call it the Nifty 50, and they're relatively inexpensive for what they are. To get a 50mm 1.4 under what, $500, that's a bargain. Whereas if you get like a zoom lens, that might cost a little more, and it may not have the overall lens opening, the large aperture or the tack sharp corner to edge sharpness. This is a 16-35 f4 f1.4. So yeah, there's quite a difference in the overall light gathering capabilities. You can get some nice blurred backgrounds, what they call bokeh, with a larger aperture lens, and it's pretty lightweight. So yeah, so which do you go for? It's up to you. Both great cameras. Also in the Canon's line, that would be probably equivalent to, let's see, so my D700 would be equivalent to probably the 5D Mark II. In Canon's line for the crop sensor for the D7000, probably the Canon 60D, maybe the 70 even, although the 70 in my opinion has a little better build quality than the D7000. But in terms of feature-wise, they're pretty comparable. So yeah, bottom line, both great formats. Put the money in a good crop sensor body, and put your money into the lens. Full frame, not bad either, but it'll take you longer to build a good lens inventory, considering that they're more expensive and the body is more. Alright guys, that concludes my quick overview of crop versus full sensor. Let me know if you have any comments or questions. Feel free to leave them down there.